Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. There was a church shooting in Texas, in Lakewood, at the Joel Olsteen big mega church. And this is another example of why I talk about the security mindset. There are quite a number of Muslim men who live in the Middle East or just don't live in America and think, a Muslim woman has to be feeble, frail, brittle, and if she has any type of strength, she becomes a raging feminist, bionic type of roiding out creature, and that she somehow becomes less desirable because she's not a carpet to be walked on. And I find this mindset to be very foreign, and I don't see a lot of evidence for that in Islam, where women don't need to have that fighting energy for life, right? And I'd argue Muslim women who live in war zones naturally, I think, become more adapted to horror and trauma. Especially if you look at the women of Gaza, yes, they're getting traumatized, but their threshold and the way in which they have to run and escape strengthens them. They actually become more aware of the wickedness of the world than somebody who is highly sheltered. And with mental health being very ignored, oftentimes, we're gonna see more and more cases of mentally ill people lashing out, okay? And even people who are high on drugs and pilled up to the gills. And so, in many places, the mentally ill roam the streets and are quite a threat. And I have a security series that I've done on the channel in the past talking about the Second Amendment and why it's so important. But the concealed carry permit is a very valuable tool, and for women in particular to have a sense of maturity at firearms education, having the wherewithal to use other items of self-defense in order to preserve the lives of others, their children and themselves, I think that is a necessary skill, okay? And I think it's quite evil to tell a tiger to take out its teeth and claws, and to tell a woman that her femininity is linked to her availability to be a victim is wrong. And it's very important for women to start having serious conversations with those whom they love about, keeping your head on a swivel, being aware, controlling your breathing, reacting under pressure, not perpetuating a fetish that's a fantasy to, red pill Muslims online, or just really callous men who ignore how dangerous the world is for women. I think it's incumbent upon every sane woman who's seen evil to strengthen women to where they'll know how to react in such a precarious and dangerous situation. I, several times in my life, have been around gunfire. I didn't fall on the ground and urinate on myself, but that's me. But there are more and more women joining the military. Not everyone is qualified, but that it shows that women are becoming more and more aware of the need of self-defense. And in classic American Christian frontier art, there was plenty of women who knew how to use a shotgun and how to defend their property from predators and bandits. And so the Joel Olsteen shooting at the Lakewood, Texas church is another example of why mosques and masjids need to have a serious talk about security. And since the men and women pray in separate areas, I think it would be very important to have female security guards on the women's side and male security guards on the other. There's tons of modern technology for metal detectors. I don't think it's smart to just be naive. It's not called being paranoid. It's called having a security mindset. in a dangerous world. And so I would encourage moms to have a conversation with their daughters, especially about how you maintain bravery, how you turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and knowing that going belly up is not always a way to preserve your life. What I mean by that is, if you've ever seen a cowardly dog, they will roll over on their belly and wag their tail, and the belly is the most vulnerable part of a dog, especially a female dog. That appeal to be like, oh, don't hurt me because I'm rolling over on my belly, doesn't work with a kid who wants to torture the dog. Now, the more meaner females, they're going to try to maul that person in order to stay alive. Okay? There is an element of survival of the fittest in that regard. Surviving can be through friendship, but you don't try to make friends with evil. You try to escape fight or flight. Alright? Freezing in the face of someone who wants to harm you doesn't save you. Just like, well, if you can camouflage like an octopus, maybe. But until then, it's smart to know how to control your brain under pressure. And there are a lot of gun clubs where women can be educated by other women on firearms safety, security, education, and so learning the laws of your area, right, to where you can feel confident in your safety. And there's tons of different belts that you can wear that hide that you're concealed carrying, so that a criminal doesn't automatically see. Now, if you want to wear it on your hip, more power to you, but I understand some women like to keep it in their purse or whatever. But as I said, there's a lot of education out there, a lot of resources, both paid and private and public, to where you can educate yourself, be informed, be bold and brave. And it's important as women to know that there's a lot of women in the world where there was no knight in shining armor who came to save them. You know, please show up after the fact. And practice being a sniper. You know, you never know. Someone comes like that into the masjid, you got your bag next to you in your prayer rug, and you've been practicing at the range, you eliminate the threat, you save lives before the men can run to the other side. It's smart. There is no hadith that I have read that bans women from tools of self-defense. There is no ayah in the Quran, there is no hadith that says women have to be victims in order to prove their femininity and piety. No, there is not that. So anyone who is putting their sexual fetish of female frailty as Sharia law standards is not telling the truth. And it's important for you to mature. Don't be a bimbo idiot. Know your capacity. Know when to ask for help. And educate yourself in the best manner. Because as these people went to church, it is quite a large church too. So it can fit up to 40,000 people. Okay? And before any moron says America should just make guns illegal, no. If someone wants to hurt you, they can make devices. There's tons of different forms to hurt people. And I'd argue that England has no room to talk because there's a stabbing problem. So, you know, you're going to ban knives so people can't cut vegetables. You know, at a certain point, you have to realize in history, people walked around with swords for a reason. They had bow and arrows. They had a club with obsidian glass in it in the Aztec times. Either way, humans always found a way to defend themselves, and criminals always found ways to create harm. Okay? The casualties may be lower, but there's arson, there's all kinds of stuff. Either way, as I've mentioned in the past, having a security mindset preserves your life and fortifies you. And tons of good Muslims suffer across the world And you can't say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always just going to keep you safe. Allah gave you legs to run, eyes to see, right? He gave you the capabilities to defend yourself. A porcupine has tools of self-defense. A jellyfish, a female cat, a rat will bite you, a scorpion will sting you. It's just for some reason when it comes to some men's perspective, women, they have to like be these little eggs, or some people get very intimidated and think somehow the woman is going to abuse them, when in reality, a woman being smart in times of danger preserves lives and doesn't pose a risk to the marriage whatsoever. But be safe out there. Think, be alert. Encourage your local centers to have more security. If the airport has security, why shouldn't religious places? When I went to school in Philadelphia, I've shared this story before. I actually really liked it because we had a TSA style checkpoint. Had to put our bags through a machine. We had to wear name tags that had our pictures on it, and our cell phones were taken away with a sticker on the back and locked in the office. We get it after school. You had to go through a metal detector, and stabbings, gun crimes, jumpings, all went down. Pretty much non-existent. Because of the level of security they learned and adapted. And there was no doors, like handles on the outside, so people couldn't just sneak in the school. There was also security guards for the school that patrolled and walked around, and I really liked that. Even though we're in a very dangerous area, Kensington is not doing so good. Even the ridiculous Ben Shapiro went down there and is seeing what it's like there now. It wasn't that level of bad when I lived in Kensington area and when I went to school over there, but nonetheless, the schools were ahead of the curve in trying to crack down on dangerous violence and the smuggling in of weapons, because some people don't know how to essentially get over a burn. They don't know how to leave it on the field. Anger management, and what I mean by anger management is not, don't raise your voice and, smile when someone spits in your face. No, what I mean is learning how to agree to disagree and move on with your day, rather than holding that grudge and then letting it fester and fester and fester to where you lash out in an act of violence. So, if schools in dangerous communities can adapt, so should masjids. And as we see a rise in atheism and lack of respect for religious centers, and people becoming drug users, we will see, I think, sadly, more hatred and malice towards religious people. And maybe there's some Christians who think you have to turn the other cheek and wash the feet of those who oppress you. I don't think us Muslims are called to do that. I don't think we're supposed to just be punching bags for criminals. Don't really see that. So, talk to your local area. Maybe it'll go on deaf ears, but it's still something. Still something. Be safe out there. If you see something, say something. And also, people need to stop saying, meet me at the masjid. There are some brothers who I'll see them post online and say, I go to so-and-so masjid. If you've got a problem, I'll be there. Why are you bringing that type of violence to the masjid? Think about that. There are people who will say, I go to such and such masjid. If you have a problem with me, come to it. So people bringing violence to the masjid. So you as a worshiper may have no idea that some morons beefing with idiots online, you get caught in the crossfire, you may need to have a weapon in order to have self-defense. Or, people don't think about this as, okay, a guy could have drama. Let's say guns are banned. someone can still, if people can invent shanks in prison, trust me, they're gonna find a way to eliminate their enemy, even if you ban guns. So he could be losing that exchange. You may think, I don't want to get hurt trying to save this person. If you have a concealed carry, pop, pop, take that person out who's, pinning. Jeez. Oh my gosh. Like if someone's like just getting like skewered over and over and over, and you're like, okay, if I jump in, I'm getting sliced and diced. So you have a firearm, eliminate that threat. Save that person's life, put the criminal down. You did a good deed by saving someone's life who brought drama to the masjid. Okay? You could be minding your own business. People can bring drama to the masjid, and innocent people get caught up in that. So remember, be smart, be wise. Whew. Tough times, man. Imagine you're there with your baby and some thug guy who's creating drama online telling people where to find them. Absurd, absurd, absurd. And people are quick to choose violence. That should also be noted. Should also be noted. You don't know who you're praying next to and what baggage they bring behind them. Let me know your thoughts. If you'd like to join my blog and support the channel and help me fundraise to get a bookshelf type of holder and a privacy screen thing, you can tip via the blog or join the blog. It's only $5, a cup of coffee, basically, a nice cappuccino, nice mocha latte. It's really good. Plus I have a lot of exclusive content on there that I write about that you don't see on YouTube or Instagram. So consider joining. Take care.